going on, everyone? This is Lucas Ross Sports, Lucas Ross, your commentator, and we continue our 2022 college football predictions. The Baylor Bears are up next. We'll go through the schedule, give you a game-by-game prediction, and give you an official record for this team, and also give you my thoughts on this team as well, and we will go from there. But before we do that, let's look back at 2021 for this Baylor team. In 2021, Baylor really was a surprise to a lot of people. They ended up winning the Big 12 championship game against Oklahoma State. Had a great record last year, 12-2. Missed out on a college football playoff, chance there. This Baylor team overall last year was really an explosive team last year. Not the offense, but just also the defensive side of the ball. The offense got really better at the end of the season. This team right now overall, they have a chance to maybe get back to the Big 12 championship game, but it's just hard to see what they will do. And they returned really good amount of production on offense. Half of their starters are back. Defensively, they're going to be really young, but you see the offense and defensive rankings last year. You see 40th in the offense last year in the country. Really good offense last year, but something to build on that here. Maybe they get a top 30 offense. And you see the defense. This defense was ranked in the top 10. They really were a great defense last year. You see the points per game, 31.6 points on the offensive side of the ball. They just gave up 18.3 points a game on the defense as well. So this Baylor team has still a chance to maybe be a top 25 team this year. But how good will they be on both sides of the ball? The defense has a lot of question marks. This might not be the same Baylor team as they were last year, but still enough maybe to get to a bowl game. And no doubt about that, they will probably get to a bowl game. And here is that 2022 schedule for Baylor. And you see that opening game against Albany on September the 3rd. That's an easy game there to kick off the season. And I think they will take care of business against Albany. No problem with that game there. I think Baylor should win this one. Maybe they'll score 70 points in this game. You never know. Baylor could get off to a really good start on the season. But they do get a win there against Albany on September the 3rd. And there's that game against BYU on the road on September 10th. Not an easy game, guys. Not an easy game. I know BYU is a team to look out for this year. They return almost everybody back from last year's team. They return a top 5 production list from last year's team as well. BYU is just going to be, looks like they're going to be probably a dangerous team, but this game is on the road. And for Baylor, I had to go back and forth on this game so many times as well. But with this one being on the road, if this was at home for Baylor, I would choose Baylor, but BYU is a dangerous team. Don't get me wrong, BYU is going to be really good this year. They have a lot coming back, and I think that's why BYU will win that game. I think Baylor will lose on the road to BYU. I just think BYU is going to be really good this year. They're a top 25 team, definitely, maybe a top 15 type team as well. But this game is just going to be really tough for Baylor on the road, and BYU just almost returns everybody back from last year's team. They're going to be a team to watch out for. But Baylor does take care of business against Texas State on September 17th. Then they open up Big 12 play against the Iowa State Cyclones on September 24th. This one is on the road. Iowa State, a little bit of an underdog team this year, but they overall lose a lot of talent from last year's team as well. Baylor should go on the road and obviously take care of business in this game, but it's not going to be a game that Baylor just goes in there and blows them out. Iowa State probably will hang around in a quarter or two, but Iowa State just really loses a lot of talent from last year's team. That's why I picked Baylor to win this game as well. The production percentage is not great for Iowa State. They don't return a lot on offense this year. They're going to be really young on both sides of the ball, and it's just going to really – there's a lot of question marks on that Iowa State team this year. Next game is against Oklahoma State on October 1st. It is a rematch of the Big 12 championship game last year. Who knows what will happen in this game? Baylor and Oklahoma State had a really good game last year. Oklahoma State's going to be really young on defense this year. They do have a great offense, though, coming back. They have a great offensive chance to maybe get revenge in this game for the Big 12 championship last year. But with this one being at home, and Baylor, will have a young defense as well. Oklahoma State's defense will be young. This will be a shootout game. I think at the end of the day, though, with this one being at home, I got to go with the Baylor Bears to win this game. And obviously, If Oklahoma State, if this one was on the road at Oklahoma State, I would choose Oklahoma State. But Baylor, obviously, I think has, I think their defense will be fired up in this game as well, and I think they will win this one. I just think the talent level is there for Baylor as well with all these games coming up, and I just think they'll get better by the end of the season because we don't really know about these teams until we get into maybe the middle of October, maybe somewhere late in October as well. And we just don't know what these teams will look like based on, in the first half of the season. Next game is against West Virginia. This one is on the road as well. Tough place to play. I mean, West Virginia does, have a lot, doesn't really have a lot of production coming back, but they do have a great defense coming back a little bit this year. The offense has a lot of question marks at West Virginia. And if I look at the returning production percentage, I would give it to Baylor. And I think they'll go on the road and defeat West Virginia. Not saying by a blowout. This will be a shootout game. I think Baylor's going to have a lot of close games this year. It's going to determine how they finish these games. It's going to determine how they finish this game out in this one. West Virginia's a team to not sleep on. This will be a good team. I mean, they will be an underdog type team, but just not enough to beat Baylor in this one. So Baylor will defeat West Virginia. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I just think they'll win this one on the road. And there's that game against Kansas. This one is not going to be an easy game right here. I know it's a home game for Baylor, but Kansas does return a really good amount of production this year. But the question is, how good will Kansas be? Will they be closer than, all these games this year that Kansas plays? Or will Baylor just blow them out? It won't be a blowout, guys. I'm saying this right now. This will be a close game. Kansas does return almost everybody back from last year. And Baylor, I just think with the talent level goes to Baylor. I think Baylor's defense should be better by this time, but overall the offense will be better than Kansas, I think. And Kansas probably will have a tough time of moving the football, but they will hang around in this game. But it will be a shootout, but I think Baylor will come up with the win. I had to go back and forth on that game, and I had Kansas winning it at first, but then I think Baylor, at the end of the day, will really not take care of business, but just win this one on October 22nd. And there's that game against Texas Tech on the road on October 29th. This one is a tough one to call here as well. This is probably going to be a shootout game. Texas Tech should be better this year, but offensively they have a lot of question marks. Defensively they should be good. The production percentage goes to Texas Tech, but when I look at the offense here for Baylor, I just think they'll go in there and maybe have a great day on offense. I think this is about the time that Baylor's offense will be better, but who knows what will happen in this game. But Texas Tech is a team to look out for. They're probably an underdog type team, but I just think at the end of the day, Baylor is too good, and I think Texas Tech will come up short. But this will be a close game. Baylor's going to have a lot of close games this year than they did, last year. So Baylor will win that one. Not saying that we'll win by a blowout. Then there's that game against Oklahoma on the road. Revenge game here for Oklahoma. We saw Baylor last year defeat this Oklahoma team. Oklahoma is a team this year that has a lot of question marks as well on offense. Defensively, they're going to be really good, though. They're going to be really good. Defensively, they should be one of the, top 10 defenses in the country. But Oklahoma does not return a whole amount of production from offense. I think Oklahoma's offense should be better by this time. But this one is a tough one to call. A road game. And the production percentage is there, for Oklahoma. But, at the end of the day, it is Oklahoma. I really feel like Oklahoma will pull off an upset in this game. Let's say if Baylor was ranked in the top 10 by this time. The college football playoff hopes are over now. Oklahoma will upset that and knock off Baylor in this game. It may be a battle for the Big 12 championship. You never know, but Baylor does lose this game. I'm not saying they're going to lose. I'm not saying they're going to lose this game by a lot. I'm saying that this is going to be a shootout game as well. But Oklahoma, at the end of the day, with them being at home, I feel like it's a better opportunity to go with Oklahoma in this game, and that's why I have them winning. Kansas State is up next here on November 12th, of a home game here for Baylor. Kansas State does have a lot of question marks as well on defense. Offensively, they do have a lot of question marks. This is probably going to be a young Kansas State team. I think Baylor will be fired up after that loss to Oklahoma, and I think I can see them, maybe winning this one by 3 touchdowns. Not by a blowout, but I could see them probably winning this one by 3 touchdowns against Kansas State. and that puts Baylor in a win column there to get him back on the win column. Then there's that game against TCU on November 19th. This one is a tough game to call as well. TCU does return a lot coming back this year. TCU should be a better team than people might think this year, but who knows what will happen when we get into the month of November. These teams will be better, but TCU should be really good. You know, TCU is going to be probably an underdog team to look out for in the Big 12 this year. They might have a chance to maybe win the Big 12 title. You never know, but TCU, though, they do have return production coming back. That's why I had to go with TCU. I think the production percentage will be there for them, and I think TCU will pull off an upset here at home for Baylor. You know, I know it's at home for Baylor, but just the production percentage is there for TCU. I just think their defense will be strong. The offense has a lot of, questions, but I think they'll get a really good defensive game here, and I think that's why that TCU will win. And then there's that final game on the road at Texas. Texas should be a better team this year than they were last year. Texas wasn't that great, let's be honest. This game is on the road. A tough place to play here for Baylor. It's probably going to be a shootout game. You know, Texas does have returning production percentage, though. They have a lot coming back on both sides of the ball. Not on offense, but defensively they have quite a bit coming back. But for Baylor, this game right here determines if they are in the Big 12 championship game or not. But I think they might lose this one against Texas. I had to go with Texas here to pull off the win. I just think the production percentage is there for Texas. I think the production percentage gets them done, and I think Texas will end up beating Baylor at home in this game. And the overall prediction here for Baylor comes out to be 8-4. Not a good year this year, not better than they were last year as well. I think Baylor fans won't be really impressed with this record here, but if you're Baylor, you got a long way to go before you really actually try to recruit as well. They got to recruit this year, and that loss to BYU does really hurt them in the early part of the season, but that's going to be a really tough game. And then Oklahoma on the road is always a tough game, but there are some winnable games on the schedule. TCU is obviously a winnable game. And Oklahoma and Texas. All these games that I marked in red are winnable games for Baylor. They could go undefeated. You never know. They could go undefeated, but I just don't see that happening. I think Baylor does have a downfall year. Not like a downfall year. They still get to a bowl game, but 8-4 is the record that I have for Baylor. I want to let you guys think what you guys think about this Baylor team. What do you think their record will be in 2022? And we will continue to do more predictions throughout the week. And stay tuned here for more on Lucas Ross Sports.